Hi guys, it's B again, and today is my 1-year wedding anniversary. I decided to go along with the 1-year milestone theme, which is paper, that I would do obviously a drawing, but to make it even more based on the idea of a paper gift, it's actually sketched traditionally, but I did colour it digitally, so it's kind of this like mixed thing, because I really wanted to do a digital piece, but it's like kind of got that traditional feel to it with like actual paper sketch, so that was fun, yeah. I don't know whether this will be like a one-off video, because what I would really like to do is like every year do some sort of themed milestone video and like theme it around each of the gifts that you're supposed to give for the anniversaries and all that. Obviously it'll be like themed on it, not like I make it with this thing, because you know I'm not about to just like break out some gold to make something, but I could do something themed with the colour of gold. Stuff like that. I mean the gold one's a while off. So this might become sort of a series, but also because our wedding is like right by Halloween and my birthday, which I also want to make videos for in the future, preferably yearly, it's kind of hard to like cram 3 like really good videos in that short time. So we'll see how that goes. So anyway, for this video, it seemed obvious to start with my persona character being a Gardevoir. Obviously, Mega Gardevoir is like in a wedding dress, so I was like, oh, it's perfect. I have in the past given my persona like little mega forms, which were mostly just like over-the-top fancy dresses that kind of followed the different color schemes she's had. I think this makes a lot more sense and would probably be what I would like permanently keep as like this is her mega form, just the wedding dress, because it makes the most sense. Not that I'm really like out here drawing the mega form a lot, I think I've done it like twice, so this will be like my 3rd rendition. Before I start the little speed drawing, or whatever you like to call it, I'm gonna just quickly explain something. So, before I started recording the video, I did like a practice sketch off camera, just while I was in bed. I just sat there and was like, okay, I'm just gonna like practice, get the pose down, figure out kind of what I want, and then I'll do a better version on camera. So I did that. The practice version looked pretty good, I was pretty pleased with it. Then I recorded a second version using the sketch as a reference for like how I wanted to pose it and everything, and trying to get it quite similar, hopefully a little better. Instead, I hated the second version and just looked at it and thought, you know what? I'm just gonna like use the one I did off camera because it's a lot better. So yeah. So what I was planning to do either way is once I'd done a sketch, I would put it on the light box and like trace over it, because I wanted to like use a sketch but like not have any guidelines or any like mess within it, so it needed to be like a super neat sketch for the final one. So I don't really have any footage of the sketch, and the lightbox part kind of isn't usable because I kind of just like constantly turn the lightbox on and off to check things, which I feel like if I sped that up, that's just gonna be a constant flashing light, which could be a problem for some people. So I'm just gonna not show any of that to be on the safe side, and we will jump like straight into the digital side of it, but just know like it was a traditional sketch on paper. Like you can see, like I'm sure I've shown in the video already that like here's the paper sketch. For the pose for this piece, I referenced some of our wedding photos. I think one in particular that I liked. And my hope was to like capture a more natural version of that, because a lot of the photos of just me and Gary are like very posed, because we were with the photographer and we like had, you know, she'd tell us like put your hands here, do this, and I was like, I'm fine with that, but I feel like neither of us, and especially Gary, doesn't look natural when we're like posing. Like we don't come off as natural. So I love the photos, but I did want to like try and capture a more natural, like with like his expression and stuff, like how I actually see Gary and stuff like that. Like, you know, we did our photos in like 2 sets. because obviously we had a November wedding, it was freezing. It was so cold. But we did decide to get some photos outside. Not too many. We had like a few with the guests for like 5 minutes outside. Not even that, I don't think. And then they all went inside and me and Gary stayed out for like an hour with the photographer just like getting a lot of photos. So, whew. And then we went inside and we'd set up like a little room in well, we were married at my church, so there's like little side rooms and stuff that you can use. So we'd set up like a photo booth in one of those. It wasn't like anything crazy, we just put like a couple of the fake plants on the sides and some fairy lights and stuff. Just so we could like get some group photos and things like that. It wasn't like anything crazy. Also from like going outside and like walking across grass and stuff to get photos, the bottom of my dress was like covered in mud. Like from a distance you couldn't really tell because it was more the underlayer of the dress because it has like lots of layers to it. But definitely there was mud. I haven't actually had a chance to get that properly cleaned, which is a bit of a big yikes. It's currently in my mum's attic. At some point I will get that like properly cleaned and pack it all away. I doubt I'll ever wear it again because it's a wedding dress. When would I ever wear it again unless we were doing like maybe we would do like an anniversary photo shoot or something, like they do in Animal Crossing. Maybe our future kids might want it. I mean, I'm super small, so I doubt anyone's gonna fit into my dress ever. But Gary is also small, so we could have some like super small kids. But yeah, I don't know. I'm obviously not like set on that or anything. It's just like, oh, I've kept my wedding dress, you know, because it was super expensive. I'm not gonna get rid of it. I mean, I just hang on to things because I'm like very sentimental towards like objects and stuff. I like to keep memories of things through like physical things. Like, I just appreciate that a lot. But you know, if we did have kids that actually fit into it, then they can go nuts, get married in my wedding dress. Not that we're having kids for a while. So for this video, I mostly want to talk about like the actual wedding and just like, you know, about the day and just some fun stuff that I want to talk about it basically. But let's just touch on a few things about the actual artwork before I go on to that. I decided to just focus on us as like the two characters rather than having like a fancy background. I didn't really know what I would really do for a background anyway, so I just kept it quite simple, like this gradient-y looking thing. And like at the very end I did like a vignette, is that what it's called? One of them. Whatever they are, like around the edges, but like I made it white. I don't even think that bit was caught in the recording, to be honest. It was like very final touches. But what I did do with like the background and even like, I guess part of it is the foreground, because like it's in front with the bubbles. Yeah, anyway. I did some little like sparkles in the background and I ended up like shifting them to a yellow at the end so they kind of look like the fairy lights we had up. And then I did bubbles because we had bubbles in the photo booth. Like I bought like a little bubble machine, just like, I just thought it'd be like a fun, cute thing to throw into some of the photos, and I think it was. Particularly like some of the photos with the kids. That was kind of cute with like the flower girls and stuff. But also we did like little wedding favors for the kids that had these little sets of like little bubble tubes in them. So throughout parts of the wedding, like the reception section, there were definitely like bubbles being blown in me. Because all the kids had bubbles. So I just thought that'd be cute to like add to the picture. I think bubbles are nice. Just think they're cute. Then for my persona, she's got like the little crystal thing. I never know what to call that. I'm pretty sure on most like websites they call it a horn. Like whatever that thing is that comes out of God of War's chest, basically. Usually I have, it's like a turquoise is supposed to be like neutral, but she's supposed to have like this mood ring thing going on with it where it changes colors. So like pink is anything to do with like being in love and stuff like that. So I made it pink. And it also just fits the whole colour scheme better than this weird, like, splash of turquoise, so, you know. Then, for Gary in the picture, he really wanted me to do him as a Sableye, because he's like, if you're gonna be a Pokemon, then so am I. So I was like, okay. I mean, he didn't specify Sableye, but I already decided ages ago that if he was a Pokemon, he would be a Sableye. Obviously made him, like, human-sized, because it would be weird if he was super short. Originally, I made him, like, a shiny Sableye, because I was like, oh, the like, shiny color scheme would mean that it would, like, blend into his hair better. But it just didn't look right. Like, I don't know what it was, I just didn't like it, and then shifting him back to purple made sense somehow. Like, it still kind of worked for the hair because of all the shading I did, and it kind of fit with, like, the color scheme of everything in the picture. I think having him in, like, this weird, like, golden color just looked wrong. Like, it didn't look right for the, like, aesthetic. I'm saying like a lot. Yeah. Also, regardless of what form I was gonna do him in, like shiny or not, he has blue eyes, so I was gonna do blue eyes anyway, so it fits better to have him normal so the blue eyes look more in place. Also, Gary actually usually has like super curly and quite long hair. Not like long, but like, it's curly. There's a lot of it. But for the wedding, just to like look a little like smarter and stuff, he had his hair cut. And I always have trouble drawing Gary because his hair is like really difficult to like get right. I've kind of like figured out a stylized way of drawing his hair, so I'll just like always reference the way I've done it before, and he's got like this big flick I've done and stuff. But I thought, oh, if he's just got this little quiff thing going on, it'll be easy. But no, it was not. It was just as hard as it usually is, arguably harder. I don't know, I think maybe because like I'm so used to seeing him with the curly hair that like trying to draw him with a different hairstyle was like, does it even look like him anymore? Also, I have a Sableye OC that has like this little quiff thing going on, so it's like, oh, looks too much like him. Help! I don't know what's going on here. But yeah, anyway, so that was difficult, but I figured it out in the end and got kind of something that was sort of what I was going for, I think. You can look at the wedding photo that I put in this video and be the judge of like how good I did. I will say I feel like the proportions were a little off. I'm a little bad with proportions, and like sometimes it takes like a while of looking back at it because it was just literally yesterday I was looking at the finished picture and was like, I think my head is too big. Like compared to Gary, like I look too big. Like I look like my head is like the same size or even maybe a little bigger than his, which it definitely shouldn't be. I definitely have a smaller head because I have a smaller everything, basically. So anyway, me and Gary were actually engaged for over a year, but we didn't really have a year of wedding planning because we were engaged but not necessarily planning a specific date, and then things kind of just, you know, life happened and we ended up just going for it. So the actual wedding planning was maybe like 6 months. I can't remember for sure when we started planning. Me and Gary actually met on Tinder, which, believe it or not, you can like meet people on Tinder who want a relationship. It is possible. I prefer online dating because I'm like way too socially awkward, and also I don't like going out. So, like, how would I meet someone who also doesn't really like going out? So yeah, we met on Tinder and spent our first little conversation making Pokemon puns. And literally, I refused to go to sleep until I made, like, all the Pokemon puns. So, I was up late, just having a good time with that. Me and Gary both like Pokemon, but like I'm way more into it than he is. Like he's into a lot of things, but me, I'm like very one-track minded, so Pokemon is like my thing. I like a few other things like a little bit, but like Pokemon is my thing. We didn't do like a themed wedding because I think in general they're generally quite tacky. I did do a couple of very subtle things with Pokemon. Pretty much the only things I really did with that was like I had these little like keychains that were like the little wedding Pikachus from that set, and I put those onto, me and Gary had, well, everyone had like these placeholder things on the tables, and mine and Gary's, I like put them on the front of those. I'll put pictures of them on screen. They looked cute. And the other thing was like, I made a cake topper and I put like a little love ball on it because I was like, yeah, but it's super tiny and like you wouldn't notice it unless you're like properly looking. So it was like 2 really tiny details. In general, I like kept Pokemon out of the wedding because it doesn't really make sense, you know? Like I would totally do like a themed party or something, but not a wedding. I don't know what it is about that, because I loved like themed stuff and like, I don't know. I love that kind of stuff, but I just feel like it's too tacky for a wedding. My mum thought I wanted to have like the stinking Pokemon theme play when I walked down the aisle, and I was like, no, mother, I do not want to walk down the aisle to the Poke Rap, actually. So because we didn't have like a ton of time to plan or like save for a wedding, I literally just had to figure out how much money I could like get up until the day from all my different paydays or whatever. And we figured out the budget was going to be about £3,000 that is. I'm British. It did increase and we ended up spending about £3,500 because we did get like some money from family, because we didn't really get like wedding gifts, but a lot of family like gave us money before the wedding to like put towards the actual wedding. So we did like get quite a bit from that, because it was like my grandma and Gary's uncle and a couple of other people. So we were able to slightly increase the budget, but still quite a small budget for as far as weddings go. But it all worked out alright. We went like very homemade on a lot of stuff, both because it is cheaper obviously in most cases, and being like quite artsy, I wanted to have things quite personalized, so I wanted to go homemade for a lot of things. The main thing that I spent way too long on was the cake topper. It took me 3 weeks to make it. It was made from Sculpey, which was actually my first time using Sculpey. I think I like briefly played with it before then, but I'd only just got it and it was like, yikes. I definitely had a few issues with things like cracking and burning, and we ended up having to like paint over parts of it because it burnt in the oven, so the white parts weren't staying white. There were cracks in like the heads because I went for like a chibi style. I don't really know what I was doing. I was just like, I have to make this. I have to. It's my cake topper. I'm making it. The idea was that it would be like an ornament to keep afterwards, because we keep it in the bedroom now on the side. I had kind of limited colours, but it wasn't too much of a problem because the main colours were like white, black, and some brown. Like, we got a few purples for the flowers. I had to do like a bit of painting on it and a little bit of like trying to change the colour of the clay using pastels and stuff. But in general, it wasn't really a problem. I had pretty much all the colours I needed because there weren't that many. I did find though, because the dress for mine particularly, I used like a translucent thing to do the layer over the dress, which looked so good before I baked it. And I baked for a little bit. I went to check on it, it looked perfect. So I think I like turned the oven off and just walked off because I was like, it's probably not had enough time, so it just needs to like sit in the oven while the oven's cooling. But then I came back and it was burnt, so I was like, cool beans. So I ended up having to paint over the dress, which I wasn't too happy about, but I didn't have really a lot of time to make a new one. But the problem was, it just didn't look quite right. Like, it looked too cold. Like, the color scheme of the whole thing overall looked really cold. So it really needed a bit of warmth to it. So like last minute, we like jumped on Amazon and bought some little fairy lights that we wrapped around it and I like glued on in certain spots, so you'd like turn those on and it would kind of warm everything up because they were like a warm white kind of color. So I was like, okay, I think that saved it. So it turned out alright. So yeah, I made this cake topper, and then the actual cake we decided just to buy from a store. We went from, I think it was from M&S, I don't remember. It wasn't important. I think my auntie paid for the cake because it was like 100 for all 3 layers or something. So it was just these 3 basic cakes we had red velvet for the big one and the small one at the top, and then I think the middle one was just like a regular sort of like sponge cake or something. So yeah, basically I went ahead with a bunch of like Ready Roll icing, which I spent way too long mixing up all the colours to get the exact shades I wanted. But I made a bunch of roses to put on that to like tie the cake in with the wedding topper. And because we got this cake stand that was like curled around, I don't know how to describe it, but like you'll see it in the picture, we ended up like wrapping fairy lights around that so that it would like tie into the fairy lights on the top as well. So I was like super pleased with how the cake looked. I do think like in the future I could probably make a way better cake topper, because like I just went with this like chibi style and stuff, which I probably still would have gone for a chibi style, but like maybe done it better, because there were a lot of mistakes because it was my like first time with Sculpey. But in general I think like the whole cake came out pretty good, so I was pleased with that. Anyway, we did other little homemade things, like we bought a bunch of fake flowers, I made my own bouquet. We decorated some flower girl baskets with like ribbons and stuff just to make them cute. And someone tell me why it was so difficult to find a basic small wooden basket. It was so hard. Like I found a few, but like they all looked so bad. And then eventually I found one that I was like, okay, this looks nice. But oh my goodness, that was so difficult. I thought that would be easy, just find a basic wooden basket for the flower girls. Was not. Can confirm. Nightmare. Anyway. And I also, the ribbon we used for the flower girl baskets, it was like this ribbon my mum found that was like, I don't know if like scalloped is the right word. I want to say it was like scalloped. But basically just this like white looking ribbon or like ivory, and it had like a little rose pattern on it, so we ended up using a piece of that to make a choker because I really wanted to wear a choker. Then of course with like the decorations we like just did everything ourselves again. Our wedding theme colour, in case it wasn't obvious, was purple. So, you know, me and Gary both like purple, so at least there was like no debate over that. It was just like, yep, we're doing purple. I did end up like throwing in rose gold because we kind of like had a whole rose gold thing going with like our wedding rings and stuff. I don't know what it is about like regular gold, like to me can look a little tacky, but like a rose gold looks better because I think it's because it has like a bit less yellow in it, so it just feels like warmer looking. For some reason I like that a lot more. My phone is rose gold, and I think that's how I started my rose gold obsession, because I was buying a new phone and I was like, okay, well, I've literally never bought like a brand new phone. It comes in like a black and I think a couple other colors, I don't remember, but you know, rose gold was an option, and I was like, okay, I just want the one that looks the most wacky and fun, so I'm gonna go rose gold, obviously. And since then I've just kind of really liked rose gold. We got like my engagement ring, the wedding bands, like everything is rose gold. I make it sound like we have rose gold everywhere. It's really not. It's just like when I can have the option, I will go rose gold on things, you know. We also had the dishes. I actually ended up buying like plastic dishes, which sounds really bad, but like they actually looked decent. I was not about to just like spend a ton on dishes, and we didn't want to like rent a bunch out. So we ended up just buying these plastic ones that were like white with like rose gold around the edges, and then the cutlery was all in rose gold. I did consider, like, I did see this set that was like rose gold cutlery, but like proper like metal stuff, and I wanted to get it, but it would have been too expensive to get all of it, because I was like, I could have used it in the house afterwards, but the amount we'd have to buy for all the guests, it was just like, nah, it's too much. But I didn't mind that too much anyway, so I don't know, I think everything looked fine still. A big thing that we saved like a lot of money on was the venue, because a lot of people will spend, like our entire budget probably wouldn't even pay for a venue, because when I was looking it up, it was like the average UK wedding is like 6,000 to 7,000 just on the venue, which is double our budget, so I was like, yikes. But I already knew from the start the venue would be free because we got married at my church and they don't charge for anything. It's just literally you've just got to like book the date and make sure it's like reserved for you and everything. So there wasn't really any problem there. So the actual ceremony was in the chapel, and then we went through to, it's kind of like a sports hall where we had the reception, which sounds bad, but it doesn't look bad, trust me. I'm pretty sure I've got a photo I can pull up of that. probably the weirdest thing about it was that it has a basketball hoop, but it's one that like folds inwards, so you can pull it out when you're using it, but then fold it in against the wall, but you could still see a basketball hoop. So because we had like all these like purple cloths everywhere to like cover things, we ended up like wrapping stuff around the basketball hoop so that it wouldn't look so bad. It wasn't really a focal point of the room anyway, so it didn't matter, but just to like, so it wasn't like this, because I think the basketball hoop was red, so just to like cover it up so it wasn't like, oh, there's a basketball hoop. So we like wrapped stuff around it, and we kind of joked about like I could do the bouquet toss like into the basketball hoop. I didn't actually do a bouquet toss. I don't know why, it just, didn't. It is nice in that room though, because they have like a lot of different lights in there, so we could like properly do like mood lighting, because you can like just turn on some of the lights. I think the ones we had turned on are like, there's like these sections that stick out near the ceiling, and you can have, there's like lights on top of them, so the lights are facing up towards the ceiling, so it like gives you light, but it's much lower light. I don't know if I'm describing that well, but basically it made a nice atmosphere. It was very nice. I liked it. It was all good. Also, we had like a bunch of help setting everything up from people at my church. We're like all helping. The day before the wedding, I went over to my mum's because the church is a lot closer to my mum's house than to where I was living with Gary. So I went over there and I helped set everything up, and you know, we were sticking up fairy lights and doing all this crazy stuff, like getting it all ready. Had my brothers and my uncle on a ladder, like stapling paper to these big boards, because we bought like, my mum found this purple wallpaper at like a car boot sale or something, that looked quite like fancy and stuff. Like it was glittery, but like not in a tacky way. So we like stapled that up on these boards that they've got in that room, because they're like pin boards kind of. It's really hard for me to like explain that room, because I've been in that room like for as long as I can remember, because I lived in that area since I was like 4, maybe 3, and I'm just so used to being at the chapel and like seeing this room. But when I think about it, it's a kind of bizarrely set up room, because it's like a sports hall, but it's got all this like weird stuff. And it's got a stage, by the way, I didn't even mention that. It's a sports hall, but it also has a stage with curtains. We had the curtains shut and we put fairy lights on them. I am rambling on way too much. This video might be a bit longer than I planned. Anyway, so we were doing all this setup stuff. Gary was not there to help with the setup, because him and his mum had an appointment to have their hair done on the wedding day here, which is at his house, not at my mum's, and he had to be here for that, so there was no point in him traveling back and forward, because he'd have to come back to get his hair done on the day. So we were like, okay, Gary's just gonna stay here. So that was that. We also had these flowers. I think I got them from Hobbycraft. Yeah, I think they were from Hobbycraft. And they're basically just like these flowers hanging down on string, like white flowers, that all hang down. You might know what I'm talking about, because actually in the intros of my videos, I have my little character and she stood on a background that has the flowers, which is because I have them hanging up in the bedroom now. Like, I wanted to keep them from the wedding and hang them up. There's definitely a flower missing from one of them though. Sorry if the audio is being weird. I'm turning my head to look at them right now. There's definitely a flower missing. The cat gets to them sometimes, so that's fun. Anyway, so in general, like a lot of the decorations and stuff and all that things, and you know, the venue and all that was all like either cheap or free, or a lot of the like fairy lights and stuff were people who were helping out from church. They brought fairy lights with them to help, so like we didn't have to actually buy a ton of fairy lights, just people had them. So the most expensive part of the wedding, where the budget did all go, was my wedding dress. Because you can't really cheap out on a wedding dress, really. They're just expensive, and that's just how it is. I'm pretty sure like half the budget was on the wedding dress. I want to say it was about 1,700, like if you include all the alteration costs and everything. So yeah, kind of expensive, but you know, The funny thing with the wedding dress is it was literally the very first wedding dress I tried on. And it's so weird because I'm really into things being like really sparkly and like I love gemstones and all this stuff. But my wedding dress is like so not that. Like no sparkles, no sequins, no gems. The veil was really plain, got the plainest possible veil. It was like all just very not sparkly, to put it simply. Which was super weird because I definitely could see myself wearing like so much of a super sparkly dress. But I don't know, it just really suited me just having this very simple, like it was definitely the shape I imagined, like very princess kind of style, like very puffed out with like the little, what is the underslip thing called? Is it just called, it's not called an underslip, it's called like a hoop skirt. Although it poofs out quite a bit on its own, because I did take off the little under thing for the reception, just so I wasn't having trouble sitting down. And the dress was like still flared out quite a lot, so I was happy with that. So yeah, definitely like the shape I imagined. It was kind of funny because when I was in the shop, like even though it was the first one I tried, I was like, we can't just say, okay, this is the dress, we have to try on some more. So we tried on like 10 other dresses. One of them was like a mermaid style, which when I was younger, I definitely could see myself like in a mermaid style for my wedding. But like now I'm like, I like mermaid style, but it just doesn't feel like a wedding dress to me. And it was so funny because like in the wedding shop, I put on this mermaid style dress that was like so blinged out and sparkly and like super over the top. And I just looked in the mirror and was like, I could see myself wearing this, just not for a wedding, like some other time maybe. But yeah, like I like the mermaid style, but like for my wedding day, I was like, I have to be like a princess, you know? I don't want to be a mermaid for my wedding, I want to be a princess. That's how it goes. Although I didn't go tiara, I went flower crown, because that's another thing I considered like a little tiara, but flower crown worked better for the style, definitely. We went into the wedding shop because my mum had seen a dress that she was like, I think you'll really like this one. And it was similar in the shape, but like the like a bodice area was like covered in like sparkles and jewels. But I actually didn't like that one that much. It was alright, but I didn't like it as much. It also had like a lace around the bottom, whereas the one I picked was just like tulle going down and then that's it. Like there's no pattern at the bottom. So mine is like very simple in a way, but it just looks really good. Also, my dress was actually ivory. It's not white. I actually found out when we were doing the wedding dress shopping that most people now prefer to go ivory because white, like pure white, is like too much. And I think the problem with it is it makes people look at the dress instead of looking at you in the dress, you know, because it's just too much. And it can look a little bluish, so I don't know. But yeah, ivory definitely works better for me for like my skin tone and stuff, because I'd almost say like I have slightly olivey skin sometimes, so that worked having like the ivory dress, because white was just not gonna cut it. We did try on a couple of like pink ones and stuff, but I didn't like those at all. Like for me, having like ivory is one thing, but like, because ivory is like so similar to white anyway, but like going pink or black or something crazy like that just didn't work for me, because it was like, it's my wedding, I'm going to wear white, by which I mean ivory, but you get the idea. Yeah, so I didn't like the pink one at all, so that was a thing. The dress also was like pretty much spot on to what I wanted. The only things we added were, because I have like modesty standards, I didn't want a sleeveless dress or a backless dress, and this dress had like both of those things in a way. We got some of the lace that was like the same as the bodice and put on like little sleeves and extra lace in the back just to build it up a bit so it wasn't completely see-through in the back. Obviously that just all added on to the cost of the alterations and stuff, but it wasn't really a problem. We also took a bit of the extra lace at the end and made these like really simple gloves that just like tied onto my hand to just kind of look like it had a bit of like flowery pattern on my hand, because I definitely wanted some kind of glove for the wedding, but yeah. I'd originally thought of like a long sleeve wedding dress, but definitely this one looked good, but it was kind of weird because like long sleeve probably would have made more sense for the time of year, but you know. Also, because it was a super expensive dress and I didn't want to ruin it, my mum actually made me a little wedding apron to put on at the reception, which it was like the same color as the dress, so you couldn't really fully tell I was even wearing it unless you were looking close. I actually didn't spill anything, so I was all good, but just to be safe, I had this little apron on just while we were eating. And I didn't eat a lot because that dress was... I'm small and skinny, but like the dress was made for me, so something I'm not used to is like having a dress that actually is super tight everywhere because it's made to fit me exactly. So I'm used to things like fitting me with extra space because I'm so small. But wedding dresses, like, really, they pull everything in. They really want, like, the tight little waist and everything. So I couldn't eat too much, otherwise I may have popped out of the dress. So I didn't eat a lot. Which is a shame, because, like, I looked at the wedding pictures at the end, and there were actually some photos right at the end just of the food laid out on the table, because it was all, like, fancy and, like, made to look nice. And I was like, there was so many stinking desserts at my wedding. Who decided to put this many desserts here? I didn't eat any of them. I only had a bit of cake. And then of course my little flower crown, I actually got that on Etsy. A really nice seller that sold me that one. She does like a bunch of flower crowns. I really liked this particular one. It didn't have quite enough flowers. Like when it arrived, I was like, I'm not sure if I love it. It doesn't have quite as many flowers as I wanted. So I messaged her and asked if there was any way she could send some more, and she did. She just charged me for shipping, which was really nice. So she sent me a bunch of extra flowers, and I was able to like bulk it up a little bit to how much I wanted it. So I was really pleased with that. So she was really cool. And then of course for my face, I actually like never wear makeup. So I was like really adamant on being like, you gotta go simple on this makeup. I don't want to wear a lot of makeup. So it was pretty much like as minimal as you can go with like having some makeup, but really not showing too much. I don't know exactly what I was wearing, but I know there was like some blush and a little bit of lipstick. I know there was not mascara because I hate mascara. It makes my eyes stick together and I hate it because like my eyelashes stick and then one of my eyes will be open more than the other and I'll look really dumb. So I hate mascara. So I definitely was not wearing mascara, but I was wearing some other little bits of makeup, but not a lot, so very minimalist on that. Luckily I didn't really have any, like I don't really have a huge problem with acne in general, but I do get like little spots here and there, so luckily I tried to like avoid eating anything too greasy up towards the wedding, so I didn't have any like major spots like on my face, so I was good. And then of course we had Gary in, we went for a black suit, and then we went for like a lilac shirt because, you know, the purple theme, and a little like purple bow tie, which I ordered a few bow ties because I wasn't sure what colors they'd be because it's really hard to find bow ties like in the shop. You have to order them online. So I ended up buying a bunch of different bow ties online, and there was one that was really good. It was perfect. I don't know what it is. I just think bow ties look really good. I really like bow ties. So Gary had this little bow tie and stuff. And we made him a little, I forget the name of it, but that little like flower pin thing that the men wear like on the suit that's like, it's like a mini bouquet. I forget what that's called, but we made one of those with some of the flowers that we used for like the bouquet and stuff. So he had that and he looked very nice. He was very handsome. And then of course there's bridesmaids and flower girls. Originally we were supposed to have 2 bridesmaids, but one of them dropped out, so we only had one. And that was a whole thing because both of my original bridesmaids have very different body shapes, like extremely different. So they couldn't necessarily wear the same dress and both be like comfortable and look nice in it. I'm definitely one of those people who's like, I want my bridesmaids to look nice and be happy and not feel awkward. Like I know some people are weird about it and just like, oh, you're gonna wear this whether you look good in it or not, but I was like, no, I don't think so. So we were shopping around for so long trying to find like, probably not the same dress, but at least similar dresses that they could wear that they both liked. And eventually we actually found one dress that was gonna suit both of them. And I put the whole order through, and literally like an hour after I'd ordered them, one of my bridesmaids dropped out. So I was like, oh, cool, now I've got to go get a refund. Luckily obviously it'd been an hour, so the dress wasn't made yet, so they didn't charge me for it, so I was able to get a refund on that. But that was some stress I didn't need. But yeah, anyway. For the flower girls, we went for like cute little poofy dresses that were very, like, quite extra, to be honest, very like frilly and like had roses on the top and stuff, and they were much more like a bright purple than most other things. But for the flower girls, I wasn't as concerned with matching the exact type of purple with like all the decorations and stuff, because it's like, it's not gonna happen, is it? And we actually had 4 or technically 5 flower girls because that's, you know, I have a bunch of, well, it's on Gary's side, but you know, we have a bunch of nieces and we wanted them all to be flower girls. So apart from the oldest one, because she's like a bit old to be a flower girl, I don't think she would have appreciated that too much. But yeah, we had the four nieces as flower girls, and then one of our youngest niece, who was like a little, I think she was like 1 year old at the wedding, so she might be around 2 now. She had the same dress because the dresses were like, I think they were like £10 each, and they went all the way down to like baby sizes, so we were like, oh, it'll be really cute, you know, if she just matches. So she didn't really do anything. I think she ran ahead of the others. I don't know, because I was the last person in, because I was the bride. It's kind of weird, like all the planning that went into the flower girls and, you know, the bridesmaid and everything, and I didn't even see them until, like, I saw them, but I didn't like see the moment where they went down the aisle and stuff, because I was outside the room waiting to go in. It's actually kind of funny with the flower girls, because we had 2 of them. I talked to their mum about it, and we were pretty sure she was gonna order the dresses for them. But then we had like this weird moment of doubt, and we were having like trouble contacting her. So I just bought the dresses myself just to be safe. I was like, you know, it's better to have an extra couple of dresses. It's only like 20 quid more. We'll just be on the safe side. It turned out she did order them, but it was a good thing that we both did, because the shipping on them was like a month. So by the time we had them, there wouldn't have been time to order another set of dresses. And it turned out like one of the girls was not feeling comfortable at all in the dress because it was just like short on her and it didn't look right. But my mum was able to like take the skirts from the extra dresses and like make her a longer dress. So she looked good in that and it was all good. But yeah, disaster averted basically. Also, we had like a little thing going on with the colours. It was like inversed because I was obviously in my like ivory dress with purple flowers in my hair and stuff, and then for the bridesmaids and flower girls, they were in like purple dresses, but they had like white or ivory flowers in their hair, so that was a nice little thing they had going on there. Also, while we're talking about clothes, I have to mention that the dress my mum wore to the wedding, literally it basically was that dress that everyone was arguing over, like whether it was blue or black or gold or and white, you know, that one that everyone was arguing about ages ago, and a bunch of people pointed it out, and my mum had no idea what anyone was talking about, so that was fun. Yeah. Anyway, I think I will pretty much wrap this up. I had a bunch more stuff to talk about, but like there's just like so much to talk about, and I feel like there's definitely a ton of things I've completely forgotten as well, just because there's like so many little details. I was planning this for months, so there's so many things that I just haven't mentioned and won't because I've forgotten. I'll mention a few more things, then I think we'll wrap up before this video gets too long. For the ceremony, we went with the like standard vows of just like what you have to say, because me and Gary are both like super socially awkward. Even though like there weren't a lot of people there were only like 50 guests, it was like mostly family. I think that might have made it worse actually, that it was family. It was like more awkward. I don't know. Either way, we're both like super socially awkward, so there's no way we were like making up fancy vows. We know we love each other. We're not gonna make fancy vows for the people. So we went super basic with the vows, but it was still really awkward because just for the standard vows, you do have to say each other's full names. And my name is like really short because I've just got my first name, middle name, last name, and my middle name is 3 letters long. It's B, you know, we all know this one by now, I think, if we're on my channel, and I'm B Ziesel. You know, it's my Easel, it's my James. You get the idea. But Gary has 3 middle names. So I had to sit there and repeat his entire name, so 5 names including his first and last name. Had to repeat those in their entirety several times throughout the vows, so that was interesting. Also, like, we were like exhausted after the wedding. We went back to the house and just died on the bed and were just ready to be done. But yeah, I'd say like I really enjoyed the wedding. I feel like pretty much everything went to plan. Apart from it being absolutely ice cold for the photos, you know, we still got the photos, it was just cold. I think everything went to plan and that was good, so I was pleased with that. I would like totally recommend doing like a more like personal wedding without like, you know, like if you're like kind of artsy, definitely recommend going like more personal on stuff. If you have time. If you've got like a year plus to plan your wedding, definitely do it. If not, maybe don't. We also haven't been on a honeymoon yet. Our plan was like, we were gonna have the wedding and then we were gonna save and go on a honeymoon, hopefully in a few years. We're gonna go to Japan is the plan. But you know, we came home, we chilled, and less than a week later, the Pokemon Sword and Shield came out, so I guess we had a honeymoon to Galar, you could say. Anyway, I think I've rambled on long enough, so I'm gonna end the video here. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed some of my ramblings about my special day. Hopefully this video was entertaining. I just kind of wanted to talk about my wedding, and I've been meaning to do some wedding themed artwork, so I figured what better time than my anniversary. I don't know, maybe let me know in the comments if you have any fun ideas for what I could do next year for the cotton theme. Some sort of plush or something I was thinking. As usual, I don't know how to end videos, so I'm just gonna go now. See you next time.